Welcome to the June TBR. This month we're going to talk about my obligations that I have to read for a whole bunch of stuff, and then also things that I carry over from last month because I started a bunch of stuff that I did not finish. It happened. It's fine. And then I have like a sci-fi mood reading TBR pile because my reading is typically at its best when I have a variety of sci-fi and fantasy and a variety of length of books. And right now I am reading too many big chunky fantasies, which is kind of my bread and butter like as a fantasy reader, but also I need to have shorter things in there. That's a thing I need to do. So that's what we're going to get into on this TBR, starting with obligation reads. The first one I will talk about is for the patron buddy read, where I make a spoiler vlog and we chat about it in the Discord. That's The Grace of Kings by Ken Liu. This is not surprising. Everyone and their mother is reading this series right now, at least in my booktube sphere. I need to know what my opinion is on this. I have read Ken Liu's two short story collections, The Hidden Girl and The Paper Menagerie, and really liked them. So I'm hopeful that I'll really like this. I do know it has a more distant storyteller kind of perspective. It's definitely historical fantasy, low magic. So I think I have the appropriate expectations. And I know I like his writing. So here's hoping. I will say I have typically liked his sci-fi stories more than his historical fantasy stories in the short story collection. But that said, one of my favorites in The Paper Menagerie was the historical fantasy. So who knows? I am really hopeful, excited to read that with a bunch of people and see how I feel about it. It's definitely one of those fantasy series of the year that everyone's talking about, and I'm like, what's my opinion going to be? I need to know. I also have for my local book club, The Undocumented Americans, I believe is the title. This was on my list of books to read last year, and I just never got around to it, and we decided to read it for book club, which is exciting to me because I have been really meaning to read this, but it's just, for such a short book, it is so intimidating to me because immigration is a topic in the United States that like really hits close to home. I'm first generation on one side of my family, but also on the other side of my family, we've been here since the 1600s. So I don't know. It's one of those topics that is really personal. And so it's really hard to read personal stories like this, but I've always wanted to. So we're going to be discussing that early part of June. And so I'm nervous, excited to finally get that off my list. Also, my patron always get to vote for a book that I read each month. And I have always done that. No matter what, I've always somehow read the book. And honestly, so many of my favorite books come from people voting for things for me to read. It's fantastic. And this also happens to be a buddy read with a bunch of my TV book tag group. And that's Daughter of the Moon Goddess. And so this is the copy I bought earlier this year because it's stunning. Harper Voyager is doing some amazing stuff with their dust jackets, like tactily and how it looks. And this is another one where I'm like, I need to know my opinions on it. Like, I think this is kind of a good crossover YA to adult because it's an adult fantasy with romantic components. I'm curious how I will land on it. I think it'll be a good pairing with The Grace of Kings because this is, I think, going to be a very different pacing. It's going to be more character focused. So I think in terms of like having this as another fantasy to read would be awesome. And the second book's cover's been revealed and coming out later this year. And so wouldn't it be great if I loved this and needed the other cover and they would just be stunning books on my shelf? Another obligation that I have to do is the Earthseed duology by Octavia Butler. I have started Parable of the Sower and probably will have that done by the end of May. I'm filming this like May 30th or something because I've already started that, but we are doing book clubs for both the first book and the second book in June, I believe, at Aaron Books and Busy's book club. So I need to read those, and I own them, and I've been wanting to read all of the Octavia Butler, so that's perfect. And my last obligation, and I didn't forget it this month because I forgot it last month because I'm a bad person, but we talked about it in the Discord and moved it. The Discord unofficial, official buddy read. We don't really like have these going every month. I know some people like Sarah Reads has like a monthly Discord buddy read. That doesn't always happen, but sometimes enough of us say, hey, I'm interested in that book. Let's read it this month. And it happens. And this month we're going to read Foreigner. And this is the first book in a classic sci-fi series that is broken into trilogies, but there are like, I think 20 plus books in the series overall. And it's been one that's been on my radar for so long. And it's one of those classic sci-fi things that I want to check out, especially in the space opera space. So here we go. This is what we're going to try out in June. So I believe those are all my obligations. So now into the books that I'm continuing. And some of those also just happen to be obligations, but I have to finish The Gates of Europe. I am that far, so easily can get this done in June. I just read this very slowly. Sometimes just like during sports games or when I have a minute or two. I have read Red Famine, which is the other book for this book club, and I think we're going to do it in July. Definitely go to Jess's Discord, which I'll have linked down below, if you want updates about when the live show will be, or follow the Twitter or the Instagram. We pretty much make things up as we go, but we're reading this and Red Famine, and I've already read Red Famine last month, so need to finish this one up. I have also started Seasonal Fears. I'm not very far, but I'm enjoying it. I just know I won't finish it before the end of the month, so that is a carryover. Similarly, very early days in Fool's Errand, which I am really enjoying. I just haven't sat down to read it. I went on vacation for a week, and I read other books for the New Orleans vlog, and so it kind of took a back seat, but I really want to get to it. I've really liked the, I think, 70 pages I've read so far, 80. It's hard to tell because it's such a small percentage, but it's also a Robin Hobb book, so really, what does that even mean? So I'm really excited to get back into that and finish buddy reading that. I think also I got a little behind because I took a detour and I read the novella prequel in Realm of the Elderlings, so maybe that's my excuse, but also just, things got out of hand. And similarly, I read the first chapter and prologue of Bonehunters, and I want to continue that this month. That's the 6th book in Stephen Erikson's Malazan Book of the Fallen, and I really like it. It's just so difficult to motivate myself because it's so long. And like I was saying at the top of this video, I have so many long, chunky books on this list, which that doesn't in itself intimidate me. It's just that with reading and momentum, it's nice to have some short things and standalone things to help really break things up. And so for that reason, my little mood reading sci-fi TBR. I do not know how many of these I will get to, how many of these will be put in. The first one I want to bring up is actually a sci-fi romance-ish, and that's the 4th Psy-Changeling book. I've been slowly reading these. I never plan to read them in the month. I just kind of put them on the TBR as if you are in the mood for a romance book, and I didn't even think I'd get to the 3rd book in May. A spoiler alert, I just did. So I want to have that on there. It's just been a really nice experience. I really like the audiobook narrator, so there's that. Another one is another Harper Voyager book, The Blood Trial. I have this on my shelf. I think it's supposed to be really fast-paced, plot-driven, twisty sci-fi. So I think that'll be a good balance for maybe some of my more introspective books, even though it is it's not super long. Yeah, it's only, I think, 400 some pages, so it's not too bad, at least in terms of speculative fiction page length. I also want to try Semiosis, which is on my bingo board, TBR. I think this is the start of a duology, and I think both of them are kind of short, and they're just really weird. I think it's just going to be so unlike anything else I'm reading, and that really intrigues me. And I also have purchased, because there's the only way I can get to it, and it's also on my bingo TBR, The Vela. I think that's how I say it, and it has a bunch of authors that Becky Chambers, River Solomon, Yoon Ha Lee, S.L. Wang, who've written this kind of, I think, serialized episodic sci-fi book. I don't know. I really don't know. It's always intrigued me, and it works really well for one of the prompts. So I have that on my Kindle, and similarly, I have the 3rd book in the Resonance trilogy that I've been meaning to get to, Dark Stars, and I just haven't, so that's another sci-fi book to have on my list. So those are all the things. I don't really have a lot of thoughts about all these books. I'm not really actively participating in any readathons. I am moving. Yeah, that's gonna take a lot of work and brain power. We're actually having movers, which I've never had before. So hopefully that makes it easier, but moving is also still just a time-consuming, exhausting time. So definitely for sure any of these books that have audiobooks have a better chance of me getting to them. Which of these are you most excited to hear me talk about in my sci-fi mood reading space? Because that might sway my opinion. Who knows? I definitely just pick what might sound interesting at the time when I do that. It's a nice balance and things like that. But otherwise, that's this video. If you liked it, subscribe if you want to, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.